Hello there. 2024 is almost here, and guess what? So are my predictions. My predictions for 2024 are here. So if you're interested in finding out what is going to be happening next year, and I promise you, this is going to be a very impactful year because it is the election year. The predictions that I have are uncensored and they're very candid, and you're going to get a very clear picture as to what's going to be unfolding for next year of 2024. So come with me, join me in the adventure of 2024, and go to my website where you can find out how to get my predictions for next year. And that is www.michellebond007.com. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for my free newsletter so that you will always stay informed, and you will also receive the monthly predictions for your sign in your mailbox. Again, that's www.michellebond007.com. This video is all about the fourth turning. Y'all have heard me talk about the fourth turning. And so what a turning is the best way to describe it is it's generational, but it's stages that we as a society go through in the evolutionary process. When you are evolving, it is not always a straight line. It is more cyclical. So you start here and you go around. So there's ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. But it does move in this direction. It is a time of evolution. Turnings are a time of evolution. And what is happening is that we are going through the fourth turning. Now, the fourth turnings are the most revolutionary. They're the most unsettling turnings. But what happens when you come out of a fourth turning is you go into the first turning. And that is when you get to reap the rewards of everything that transformed in the fourth turning. Now, where did I get this information? I actually got it from a book called The Fourth Turning is Here, and it is written by Neil Howe. And so if you're interested in that, you can go read the book. It is a pretty heavy read, and I'm going to warn you, he does go into his view of politics, so it's not unbiased, just so you know. But anyway, I digress. These turnings remind me of the yugas of humanity that date back. The philosophy of these date back to the Rig Veda. This goes back to India over 4,000 years ago, and they call them ages of humanity, which are way longer than the turnings. Now, turnings will be generational, so they can be give or take 20 to 30 years, and you can go through a whole period of turnings from the first turning to the fourth turning in give or take 80 to 100 years. The yugas, on the other hand, are not generational. They are ages of humanity that can last anywhere from 72,000 to 4,320,000, depending on who you are going to be talking to. So you start off and you have the Kali Yuga, which is the most transformational, revolutionary, shall we say, less enlightened of all the ages of humanity. Then you go into the Dwapara Yuga, the Treta Yuga, and then the Satya Yuga, which is the most enlightened. So I just find it interesting that there's a parallel between these two philosophies, but it is all about, again, the evolutionary process. How do we go? How do we evolve as human beings? And actually, how does God evolve? God evolves through us. That's why we are here. And it is cyclical, so it goes around in a circle, but in an upward motion. So we are in the fourth turning. Now, this is not the first time we have been in the fourth turning. In fact, the first time we were in the fourth turning was when our nation was founded. And if you will recall back then, it was a very, shall we say, revolutionary time. It was very tumultuous. It was very chaotic. We were trying to gain our independence from England, and we fought to free ourselves from England, and we did win. Now, if you will remember, though, the United States was not united every state had its own form of government and its own form of laws. And we were very divided. More divided, actually, than we are now. We think that this time is very divisive. Well, try living back during then when our nation was founded. It was even more divided. There was a lot of martial law, so there was riots. There was a lot of infighting, and people would fight before they would talk things out. At least now we're a little bit more civilized, but whenever you go through a fourth turning, it is a revolutionary time. There's a lot of chaos. There are riots. There's violence. And that's a lot of what we are experiencing now. And people also can become divided. Another fourth turning would have been during the Civil War. We were divided then as well. And more recent, then you have the World War I, World War II, and then more recently, the 60s. According to Howe, this turning started roughly about the time of the 2007 and 8 real estate crash. And it's continuing on. So I think it'd be very interesting to see astrologically how this is all playing out and what happened. The interesting thing is that when the United States was born, it was running a Rahu Dasha. And Rahu is the planet of chaos. It is the planet of materialistic things, bringing things to the surface, expansion, but it can bring a lot of upheaval with that expansion as well. So we started out in 1776, July 4th, 1776, in the Rahu Dasha, and Rahu runs 18 years. And we ran that until 1793. And guess what? The United States is back again in the Rahu Dasha. It started in 2015, and it will end in 2033. And this kind of coincides with what Hal was saying. He thinks that that we will probably finish this fourth turning around 2030. So there you are. With this chart, these are the transits of the slower moving planets. I just wanted to show that. But the outside is the United States chart. And so we can see here that when we were born, the ascendant was Sagittarius and it was in Mula. And Mula can be somewhat self-destructive. And there are times that, yes, the United States has been self-destructive. But the interesting thing here is that if you look up here to the 7th house, you can see the 7th house in mundane astrology represents our allies and people we have a business relationship with, our partners. And it is packed. The United States has had a history of having a lot of allies and good relationships with them, and that's because it's being protected by Jupiter, and Venus is there as well. And Jupiter is the ruler of the chart. And we're very concerned about our allies because Jupiter rules the 4th house of our nation, of our homeland, going to the 7th. We want to protect our homeland and our nation. And so that is there. So the interesting thing is, too, is if you look at when our country was founded and where some of the planets are transiting, you will see that we have Pluto natally in Capricorn at 6 degrees, 49 minutes in Uttarashada. And right now, we've got Pluto transiting over that natal Pluto. And he's just finished up. This is actually the transits for the eclipse of 2023. So at the time of the eclipse, Pluto had gone direct. He's no longer retrograde. So he just finished a retrograde cycle where he went over Pluto when he was direct. Then he went retrograde and he went back over the natal Pluto. Now he's direct. He's going to be going again back over the natal Pluto. So Pluto's energy can be very destructive, very revolutionary. He brings things to the surface. And that, since we're having our Pluto return, during this Rahu Dasha, which is similar to what was happening when we were founded, we are going through a very revolutionary time again. And it's very interesting too, because we are very concerned about our economy. We're very concerned about our allies and the people who aren't really our allies, but from foreign nations. And we are divided again. This country is very divided. But our forefathers, even though we were even more so divided when we were founded, our forefathers worked very hard and they brought our country together. And that is what I am predicting is going to be happening as we move along in this fourth turning that we are currently in. We are going through a rebirth. And you've heard me talk about this over and over again. But everything is pointing to that, from the astrology and then from the idea of the turnings. It is a rebirth. New ideas are coming forth. And that's another thing I'm talking about in my predictions for 2024 are some of the new ideas, some of the new inventions, everything that's coming forth. This is really actually, even though it's very chaotic and you don't know sometimes which side of the bed to get up on, you don't know what's going to happen. Everything's topsy-turvy. What we thought was right is wrong. What we thought was wrong is right. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, but it's all going to come together in the end. And we will make sense of it. And we're going to move into a new direction with our government, with our philosophies, with our way of thinking. And we're evolving as human beings. So it is chaotic, but peace will come. And the most exciting thing, it's also a very exciting time to be alive when we're going through this. Because not only are we evolving as a society, but human beings are evolving as well. And people are waking up with the Uranus, Jupiter, Rahu. But not only what our government and our politicians are doing, but they are waking up to the truth, to a new way of being. We're coming out of the third dimension and going into a fourth and a fifth dimension. And as we move into these higher dimensions, our consciousness expands, our way of thinking expands, and we start to develop abilities that we didn't always have. We become more intuitive. We become more aware of what's going on around us, and we are listening to the guidance that's going on inside our head. And that guidance is our higher power. We are tapping into that more and more as more enlightened beings. The other interesting thing is finding out about UFOs and what that is all about. Because UFOs are not really, for the most part, out to get us. If they were out to get us and wanted to destroy us, believe me, they would have already done it. The UFOs are not of this world, but they are highly evolved beings. And the interesting thing is that you see a lot of UFO sightings whenever we are experimenting with nuclear power, especially weapons. And they can throw those weapons off course and keep us from destroying our lands. Now, if somebody was trying to get us to destroy us, don't you think they wouldn't appear like that? They would let us? So it's just a very exciting and interesting time, and we're being exposed to all these things, which are expanding our minds. Our minds are being blown. So all of our minds are going through a little mini rebirth, right? A death and a rebirth. Out with the old, in with the new. As below, so above. So as you think inside yourself, that's what you project out into the world, and the world evolves. So it's just a very interesting evolution of sorts. Yeah, very interesting evolution of sorts. So that is what I'm going to leave you with. But if you want more information on this and how you can evolve as you evolve your consciousness as a soul being, and you'll probably want to join my meditation group that I have every Monday night at 4 o'clock. That's Central Standard Time. And we do it on Zoom. It's an hour-long meeting. In the beginning, we talk about interesting, inspirational philosophies to lift us up and set the mood. And then I lead you through a guided meditation. So if you don't know how to meditate, that's okay. You don't have to, because I do guide you through the meditation. And at the end, I promise you will leave relaxed, insightful, inspired, empowered, enlightened. And you might even be shifting the way you look at things. And that's kind of the point. So we won't only be lifting your consciousness, but we are lifting the consciousness of the world around us. So be sure to go to my website to see how you can participate in that. And the other thing is I do record the group sessions so that you can refer back to those meditations at any time during the week that you would like to, that you feel like you're getting stressed, or you just want to relax for a little bit and chill. It's there for you. So go to my website, www.michellebond007.com, to see how you can participate in the group meditation, also to get the 2024 predictions for next year, as well as sign up for my free newsletter so that you'll always be informed. And you know, everybody was dealt a deck of cards at the time of their birth. If you would like for me to show you, help you see the deck that you've been dealt, so that you can find ways to strategically play that deck. Why? So that you can become more successful, very successful. Be sure to book an appointment. A lot of great people use astrologers. JP Morgan used an astrologer. President Reagan used an astrologer. Adele uses an astrologer. A lot of people use astrologers. So join the crowd. See how it can benefit your life. That's michellebond007.com. So there you have it. Be courageous, be empowered, and I will see you next time.